Good morning. During the declared emergency in the City of Toronto, Committee of Adjustment virtual public hearings are being conducted via WebEx, an online digital platform, and will be live streamed on the Toronto City Planning YouTube channel. These measures are necessary to comply with physical distancing requirements and a provincial order that limits attendance at public gatherings. My name is Nancy Oman and I will be chairing this hearing. Panel members participating via WebEx and who can be seen and heard are Peter Reid, Joanne Hayes, Zahir Bayat, and Carl Nipfel. City staff will be assisting us throughout the meeting, including moderating the WebEx platform. Agents, applicants, and other interested parties participating in this virtual hearing registered in advance and will be connecting through WebEx using a compatible electronic device. Their participation will be through audio only. We acknowledge that the land we are meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississaugas of the Credit, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and it is now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 with the Mississaugas of the Credit. In accordance with Sections 45 and 53 of the Planning Act 1990 as amended, this meeting of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Toronto is called to order. The Committee of Adjustment considers applications for variances from the provisions of the zoning bylaw that apply to the property, permission to extend or alter lawful nonconforming uses, and consent to sever property to create new lots. Anyone who wants to receive a copy of the committee's decision for an application must submit a written request by email to the general email address for the Committee of Adjustment, Toronto and East York District Office. Please include your name, address, and an email address. All Committee of Adjustment and TLAB notifications and appeal updates will be sent by email only. If you do not agree with the decision of the committee, decisions may be appealed to the Toronto local appeal body known as TLAB, or in some limited circumstances to the Ontario Land Tribunal. Appeal instructions will be set out at the bottom of the committee's decision. Participants who have registered in advance will be connected to this virtual hearing and will be muted automatically upon entry. When your item is called, each participant will be unmuted by the moderator, one person at a time. I will call each item in the order listed on the agenda. Where an application is uncontested, the agent or applicant may proceed with their presentation if desired, and when the committee does not require a presentation, applicants are to advise the chair should they wish to speak to the committee. The committee may ask questions and/or take the matter into committee for a decision. Each speaker, including the applicant or agent, will be given a maximum of 5 minutes to address the committee, and I will comment when you're reaching the 5-minute mark. When addressing the committee, please speak slowly and clearly state your name and address. Please confine your remarks to the matters outlined in the application. Where required, the applicant or agent will proceed first with a presentation of the application. Then, individuals either in support or opposed to the application will be invited to speak. Committee members may ask questions of each speaker after they have completed their presentation. And when all speakers are finished, the applicant or agent will be unmuted and will have an opportunity to rebut only those issues that were raised by the speakers. This will mark the end of the discussion and the application will be taken into committee for a decision. Please note, the committee may not entertain revisions to proposals at the hearing today. The committee may decide to defer the application if substantially revised to ensure that the revised application is accurate and that all those entitled to notice are informed of the changes. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, have the minutes of the last Committee of Adjustment public hearing been confirmed by the members?
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Yes, the October 6th.
Okay, panel members, can I have a motion to adopt the October 6 minutes? Ms. Hayes, moved by
Make
Ms.
a motion to adopt the minutes of October the 6th.
Okay, and seconded by Mr. Bayat. Okay, so motion to adopt the minutes, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor? Okay, the October 6 minutes have been adopted. And are there any declarations of interest, panel members or staff? Seeing none, okay. Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, are you aware of any requests to close? I know there's, I believe, one withdrawal.
Yes, it is item number 6 on today's agenda.
Okay, are we able to deal with that now?
Yes, we are.
Okay. Okay, panel members, item number 6, 70 Oriole Road. There's been a request to withdraw this application. Do I have somebody who can approve the withdrawal? Okay, Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. Okay, so the application is approved to be withdrawn, moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, that's approved. Okay, the first item is 113 Glochester Grove. And we have before us a copy of the plan of survey site plan. We have 2 photographs of the north and northwest elevations. We have 5 form letters in support signed by owners and occupants of 103, 108, 111, and 115, and those are both adjacent properties, as well as 117 Glochester Grove. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation for this one?
I just like, oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, just give me a second. We don't need a presentation. Panel members, do you have any questions for the applicant? Okay, Mr. Malik, is there anything you want to add and before we go into?
Just thank you for the chair, for the committee. My client purchased this property, unbeknownst back in 2017, and then was approached to apply for community adjustment for the porch enclosure. We understand there are 2 minor variances that play, one dealing with the setback, the other one dealing with the landscaping. We'd like to first make note that the porch enclosure we feel is minor in nature with the variance. We feel it is in keeping with the city zoning code and with the official plan, and it is not in any way deterrent or out of keeping with the character of the neighborhood. The porch enclosure actually is greater than the side yard setback itself, but there's a landing which is about 8 inches above grade, which is 0.81 meters from the one side of the side yard. The house itself is actually closer to the side yard than the porch enclosure, and there is a fair bit of landscaping in front of a porch enclosure as well. So I think the intent was my client has gone through a bit of hardship to get this, hoping to get the committee to waive the variances at play here, and we feel we've complied, do all the necessary measures, and have applied. Henceforth, we're here making the presentation today. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, are there any questions now or still no questions? Okay, so we're ready to take it into committee then for a decision. Mr. Nipfel?
Madam Chairman, unless my colleagues have other concerns, I find this a very minor application. Although there are no other enclosed porches immediately adjacent, the house forms on the street are really quite varied, and I don't think an enclosed porch is going to create any negative impact to the street or to the neighborhood. In addition, the application has the support of both adjoining neighbors. I cannot see a negative implication to this application, and I'd like to move approval without conditions, please.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Okay, Mr. Reed. Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Okay, item number 2, 134 Fulton Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. I don't show any speakers. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, hello, it's the acting agent online. I logged on. It's George Stavros.
Okay, good morning, sir. Panel members, I don't think we need a presentation on this. We're looking at one variance. Do any of you have any questions? Mr. Nipfel?
It may be in the material and I missed it, but do you have support from the owner of 136?
136, no,
You
I
touched
logged
them?
on no.
Have you talked to them?
Yes, actually, 136 is the rental, so, we tried getting a hold of the landlord several times, no answer.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any further questions, panel members? Seeing none, Mr. Stavros, we've read the material, we're ready to take it into committees. Is there anything you want to add before we do so?
One moment. Yes, Mike, hello, can you hear me? Yeah.
You're kind of cutting in and out. I don't know if you're moving around.
Oh,
but
sorry
try
about that,
again.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, my client, it was the original footprint to remain, and from ground up, the building was, the existing addition was deteriorating, so he just knocked down the existing walls and reconstructed, and obviously he did not know a building permit was required, and therefore, once applied, we have we're over on coverage, as you can see. The bylaw is asking for 69%, and we're at 73%. And that's our minor variance that we're asking for relief to the bylaw. Excuse me.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel members, we're ready to take it into committee for a decision. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. As this is, although it's, the applicant has said it's already constructed, it is replacing what was an existing one-story addition. The footprint is the same. There's no additional impact. I think the change in is indeed minor, and if my colleagues have no further comments, I would move a motion to approve the application with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Nipfel. Okay, motion to approve moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? The application's been unanimously approved. Thank you.
Madam Chairman, is the purpose of this application legally, is it to legalize and maintain because the work has already been done?
Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer.
Through you, Madam Chair, the use or the purpose is to permit.
It is to permit.
It
even
is
though
to
it's there.
permit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you. All right, item number 3 and 4 are, can we do those together? I mean, there's a few differences, but do you want us to, or do you want us to separate them, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, please separate them.
Okay, so let's start then with item number 3, 324A, High Park Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a covering letter from David Riley and Raymond Zimba, the agents. And then in our supplemental agenda, we have a staff report from community planning asking to refuse the variance requests. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, I'm here, Raymond Jemba from SGL Planning and Design.
Okay, I don't show any speakers in opposition, and so Mr. Zimba, I guess I'll ask you to speak to the refusal report from planning.
Yes, happy to speak. I just wanted to clarify, would it be possible to present them at the same time, as there is only one additional variance for 324A?
Yeah, that's the forestry one, right? And the planning refusal is the same for both.
Yeah,
Are you okay to do that then, so that we only have one presentation this way, but we can separate the vote if you want?
Sure, that will work.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay, so we'll do that if that's okay with you, sir.
thank you.
Okay, so just, if you don't mind then, since we're doing this, I would like to just read what I have before us for that, for 324A 324 High Park Avenue. So we basically have the same, the covering letter is the same from yourself and Mr. Riley. We have a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have correspondence in support from 314 High Park Avenue. And we have a staff report from forestry that's also asking for refusal. And then we have the planning report that's the same as 324A. So with that, I'll defer to you, Mr. Zimba. Go ahead. We'll give you 5 minutes, start when you start
Perfect.
speaking.
Well, good morning, Chair and committee members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. Can you please bring up the planning rationale letter and start at page 1?
Sure.
To give a little context, 324 and 324A High Park Avenue are located on the west side of the street, south of Dundas Street West, as shown on figure 1. Since we have the aerial context up, I would like to clarify that properties do not have access to a rear laneway, which was referenced in the planning staff report for both properties as a reason for not supporting the proposal. As you can see on pages 3 and 4 of the planning letter, the streets contains a mix of low-rise building typologies that front yard parking is a common characteristic of the street. Can you please pull up the concept plan? 324A High Park Avenue contains an existing 2-story dwelling, whereas 324 contains a 2-story dwelling, and 324A contains an existing 2.5-story dwelling. Both properties share a mutual driveway that provides access to the existing parking. Interestingly, based on a photo from the Junction Historical Society, the driveway condition has existed on the properties for approximately 70 years. The proposal is to permit a parking pad in the front yard of both properties. The variances include permitting a parking space, a reduction in front yard soft landscaping, and a reduction in front yard landscaping for 324A High Park Avenue. Before I discuss each variance, I would like to clarify I reviewed Urban Forestry's report, and there is a misinterpretation. If you look at the concept plan, there is no proposed work in the public right-of-way, and the application will maintain the existing driveway. Therefore, there is no impact on the existing city-owned tree within the public right-of-way. I followed up with Nicholas Traves from Urban Forestry yesterday to clarify, but have not heard back. So shifting back to the first variance is to permit a parking space in the front yard. Front yard parking is a common characteristic along High Park Avenue, and if you could look at figure 10 in our planning letter, it shows recent committee approvals related to front yard parking and front yard landscaping, illustrating the emerging character. If you scroll further to figure 11 in our planning report, this shows the prevalence of driveways and parking pads along the street. So I disagree with the planning report that noted parking pads and reduced front yard landscaping is not part of the prevailing character, whereas as shown in the previous maps, it is actually a common characteristic of this segment of High Park Avenue. Moreover, the proposed parking pads will improve an existing condition on the properties, enabling parking pads entirely within the properties. This avoids the need for additional parking on the street, which often serves as a spillover parking area for the junction for the many shops and restaurants in the area. The second variance seeks relief regarding the proposed front yard soft landscaping requirements. For 324A, we're proposing 66.81% and 58.68% for 324 High Park Avenue, whereas the bylaw requires 75%. The third variance, which only applies to 324A High Park Avenue, is also related to landscaping and seeks to reduce the front yard landscaping area to 29.51%, whereas the bylaw requires 50%. The proposed reduction in front yard landscaping is consistent with the character along High Park Avenue and the neighborhood, as shown in the recent committee approvals on figure 10 of our planning report. Moreover, as shown earlier in the photos, many dwellings along High Park Avenue include driveways and front yard parking pads that take up significant portions of the front yard. The proposal would move the parking spaces entirely onto private property while maximizing landscaping. It is also important to note that there is a significant amount of soft landscaping between the sidewalk and the front yard property line of both properties, landscaping within the public right-of-way. This landscaping is perceived as part of the private property because it's on the west side of the sidewalk. However, none of this area counts towards the calculation because it's in the public right-of-way. So while there is a reduction on the private property, this reduction is being minimized to the greatest extent possible, and the existing shared driveway will continue to be used to minimize hard surfaces. In summary, the proposed parking pads will improve the existing condition through accommodating parking entirely within the properties. The application is considered minor as there is no adverse impacts, and are appropriate as the proposed parking pads can be appropriately accommodated within the properties in a way that reinforces the existing physical form and streetscape with minor deviations to the front yard. I'd like to reiterate that Urban Forestry comments are a misunderstanding as the city-owned tree is not impacted. In addition, the city planning report does not appropriately acknowledge the neighborhood character along High Park Avenue and provides inaccurate information regarding access to the property, as the report implies the subject properties have rear lane access, which is not the case. And as well, I'd like to acknowledge there's a letter of support from 314 High Park Avenue. If you have any additional questions, I would be happy to discuss.
Okay, thank you, sir. Panel members, do you have any questions of the applicant, Ms. Hayes, and then Mr. Niffel?
I would just like to clarify, you are now, the property owners are now parking on the site. Is this to allow the parking of a second vehicle, or are you looking to just have one parking space but reconfigured?
One parking space reconfigured.
So that existing hardscaping is gonna be removed, or is there gonna be an ability to park 2 cars on the front, in the front?
To clarify, there would be one parking space for each property. And that the hardscaping would be reconfigured. As
So
in
it's
the
an
private property.
aesthetic, the desire to do this is aesthetic, because you
So-
already have are parking, or is it compliant? You, aren't, it's, those parking spots aren't currently permitted.
Those parking spaces, currently they are partially parking in the public right of way.
All right,
So it's
thank
to
you.
bring them into legal spaces.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Niffel?
One of my questions was the same one, so just to clarify, the existing parking is not legal, is that correct? Because you park partially on the right-of-way and partially on the front lawn or front yard of the site, is that correct?
That is correct.
And can you tell me, do you happen to know what the soft landscaping percentage is in the front yard at the present time, as the current situation is?
I believe it is about 12 to 15 square meters from an aerial.
So it's quite close to what your variance request is.
Yeah.
So in fact, the front yard landscaping as it exists is already not compliant.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Okay, seeing none, let's take it into committee then. So we're dealing now with 324A High Park Avenue, and that has only has the planning refusal report on it. Anyone want to start? Mr. Niffel?
Here we go. Madam Chairman, when I reviewed this application at first, I felt it was consistent with the area and minor. Then the planning report arrived, and my view has somewhat altered in light of what the planners have identified. I appreciate that what is being requested is not, frankly, anything that appears worse than the existing condition, but it's illegal. And it does seem to be that it's not inconsistent with the pattern existing on the street. However, as the planning department has indicated, the official plan is attempting to make changes that this particular application offends. And I'm reluctant to go against a planning department report that basically identifies the variance as not compliant with the official plan. So somewhat reluctantly, Madam Chairman, my view is that the application should not be approved, and I would bring forward a motion to refuse the application.
Okay, anybody else? Mr. Reed, did you want to say something? Yeah, go ahead.
Sure, thanks, Chair. I would agree with Carl and with the planning department report. I think there are a bunch of, as we've seen, there are many examples of front yard parking in the area, but I don't think that precedent is necessarily equals desirable. And in this case, I think that this is a worsening of the situation, both visually and in terms of soft landscaping. So I wouldn't support it as well.
Okay, Mr. Bayat, did you want to add something?
I was just going to echo Mr. Niffel's earlier comment, and I am in agreement with Mr. Reed and Mr. Niffel. I cannot support the application as it's presented.
Okay, Ms. Hayes, did you want to add anything before we take a vote? Okay. All right, so I'm going to need a motion then from one of you. Okay, Mr. Reed, go ahead.
Sir, I'm happy to move a motion to deny the application for the reasons previously discussed.
Okay, Mr. Nipfel, you're seconding. Okay, so motion to refuse the application moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Nipfel. All in favor? Okay, let's go to 324 Hyde Park Avenue now. And that one has, in addition to the planning refusal report, it also has a forestry refusal report because of the tree that's there. Okay. Any discussion? Ms. Hayes?
I just want to add that I want to just acknowledge that the planning report speaking to parking in the rear is not correct, but the other comments with respect to what were noted in the planning report with respect to conformity with the OP, etc., I agree with. And I would, if no one has any comments, I would also move a motion to deny the application on number 324.
Okay, motion to refuse the application moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Okay, the application's also been refused. Thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, before we continue, there is a deferral request for item 18,
Okay.
228 Evelyn Avenue. I don't know if we maybe want to deal with that now before we carry on to item 5.
I have somebody listed as support or interest, so I'm not
Okay.
sure if they,
Okay.
like, it might be safer to
hold
leave
there?
it.
Okay,
Yeah, I think
okay.
so. Okay, item number 5. We have before, it's, I'm sorry, 122 Jackman. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 3 photographs of the subject property submitted by the applicant, a covering letter from the applicant, as well as presentation materials. We have email correspondence from Parking Transportation Services and a staff report from Forestry. They're asking for condition number 1. Correspondence in support from number 15 Mortimer Avenue. And in our supplemental agenda, we have another covering letter as well as correspondence in opposition from 56 Neelan Avenue. And, okay, do I have the applicant on the line?
Hi, yes. My name is Renata Patterson, and I'm here as the homeowner and representative of 122 Jackman.
Okay, panel members, do you need a presentation on this one? Do you have any questions for the applicant? Ms. Hayes?
I just would like you to speak to there is already parking on the Jackman side for this property. What's the necessity for having a Mortimer access?
Yeah, absolutely. So, our change will essentially increase the property green space by 5 meters square. We would be recycling the brick from the back, so the exit to Jackman will be recycling and removing that, creating the green space in the back. And the brick used to be in the front where the Mortimer new parking pad is proposed. That would, not only help create more green space within the property, but also minimize the landfill waste.
So are you saying that you are taking away the parking for the property off Jackman?
That's correct.
So you are going to close up that curb cut?
We would create a fence. We have a young son, and one of the goals, especially during the pandemic, was to have more space within the property where we could have a good life.
So you're going to remove the driveway and the access to parking in the rear?
Correct.
If the committee were to approve this?
Oh, absolutely.
Thank you.
And any further questions, panel members? Mr. Niffel?
Madam Chairman, just a point of clarification. It isn't for the applicant, but variance number 2 is, I believe, incorrectly worded. The first line should be a minimum of 50% of the required front yard landscaping must be soft landscaping. The word soft is missing. It basically says landscaping must be landscaping.
Through you, Madam Chair, we can make that correction.
Thank you for pointing that out, and I just want to make note that the objector was really talking, had concerns regarding sightlines coming out of the property, as well as the traffic flow is heavy, and I believe that the applicant had addressed those concerns in a covering letter also that's in the supplemental agenda, so I just wanted to make note of that. Are there any other questions, panel members? Okay. Is there anything else you want to add, Ms. Patterson? We read all the material. We're ready to go into committee, and
Yeah, I just, if I can have the opportunity to address the concern that was submitted by the Nealon neighbor. We completely understand, as I mentioned, we do have a young kid, so we did submit a late cover letter that is noted to demonstrate that even if we do park our car in the proposed new space, it's and there is the car on Jackman trying to go into Mortimer, there is plenty of space, and we were able to measure through Google that if we are at Jackman trying to go westbound into Mortimer, there is a good 57 meters of line of sight. And if you approach the curb into Mortimer a little bit more, then you are able to see well into the intersection for Broadview and Mortimer, which our car would not be impacting it.
okay, thank you. All right, panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision. Mr. Niffel?
Madam Chairman, I believe this is a very impressive application. As the covering letter indicates, there's been considerable attention to try and address city objectives, tree cover, the potential use of electric vehicles, and runoff. I'm impressed. I was very impressed with the amount of thought that went into this application. I don't see a negative impact. I believe that the sightline issues that were raised are not, I don't find them serious. I believe the applicant has addressed them and addressed them appropriately. Based on all of that, Madam Chairman, I'd like to move approval of the application subject to forestry condition number 1.
Okay, Ms. Hayes, you're seconding, so motion to...
I just have one comment.
Oh, okay.
Carl, given the submissions of the applicant and what's proposed, would you consider a condition that the curb cut on Jackman has to be restored? So that driveway,
That's a great idea.
is indeed removed?
Yeah, definitely support that.
Okay, are you seconding then with that condition? Okay. All right, so motion is to approve the application, including a condition to restore the curb cut on Jackman, and forestry condition number 1, moved by Mr. Niffel, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Okay, number 670 Oriole was withdrawn, so we're going to item number 7.
Sorry, through you, Madam Chair, just point of correction for item 6. The minutes will read that it was withdrawn as well as the file is closed.
Okay, thank you. Item number 7, 214 St. John's Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a tree protection plan from the agent, correspondence in support from 212, which is adjacent, as well as 223, 225, and 227 St. John's Road. And we received in our supplemental agenda 4 photographs of neighboring properties. Do I have the agent on the line?
You do. My name is Kevin Downey. I am the agent for 214 St. John's Road.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, do you need a presentation? No? Do you have any questions for Mr. Downey? No questions? Okay, Mr. Downey, we've read all the materials. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you want to add that's not in the materials?
I don't think so. I wrote a covering letter earlier on May 31st
Yep.
that covered my response to the 4 points, and I think I don't really have anything more to add to that.
Okay, thank you. Panel members, we're ready to take it into committee for a decision. Ms. Hayes and Mr. Reed, I'll take, you put your hands up at the same time, so who wants to go first?
Go ahead, Peter.
Thanks, Joanne. I think this is a tastefully done application, and it's, you know, being located within the porch and having a few examples of other porch enclosures in the area. I think this fits in and will have no negative impact on the neighbors or the neighborhood. So I move to approve with no conditions.
Okay, did you want to second that, Ms. Hayes? All right. Okay, so motion to approve the application moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Item number 8, 103 Victor Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have a covering letter from the agent, correspondence in opposition from number 98 Simpson Avenue. And I believe the opposition is related to privacy issues, loss of green space, garage flooding, as well as potential injuries to a tree. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, this is Shahid Danawati. I'm the agent for 103 Victor Avenue.
Okay, I'm not showing any speakers, panel members. We have one variance before us for floor space index. Do you need a presentation? No? Mr. Nipfel, you have questions, is that it?
I just have a question.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yes, sir.
The objector's letter indicated that there's an existing third floor, which is not reflected in the purpose of the application. Can you it is 3 stories high. Can you clarify why the application is posed as a 2-story building that's going to have a 1-story addition? Is it the way in which the height is measured, or could you just clarify?
Well, actually, it has been taken from the previous permit. We have not added anything new into the application except a small area on the ground floor. So I think what we've done is that taken the description from the previous permit that was there at the city.
So, Madam Chairman, it seems to me that being the case, unless it's a definition issue, the purpose should identify that this is not a 2-story but a 3-story detached dwelling.
Yeah, it's an attic on the top, on the 3rd floor, it's an attic area. So that is being used. So the primarily the attic may be taken as a half floor, but normally it is taken as a 2-story building. I think probably that's the reason it is a little confusing.
Except that there's a dormer at the front, which actually the front is 3 stories high and the back is I'm not questioning whether this is good or bad. I just wanted to make sure that I had the data correct, and so it is 3 stories. There's a 3rd story with a deck at the back.
Yeah, for all works and purposes, you can say that it's a 3-story.
Thank you.
So, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we need to amend the purpose then to read a 3-story detached dwelling instead of 2?
Through you, Madam Chair, the survey plan as well as the site plan is showing as a 2-story. I'm just looking at the zoning review to determine what this is classified as. We could say a 2.5-story detached dwelling because it's not a complete 3rd story.
Mr. Nipfel?
I'm fine with that. I wanted to clarify that I hadn't missed something, so that's fine with me,
Okay.
Chair.
Okay, so we'll amend the purpose then to read 2.5 story. Okay, any further questions of the agent? Seeing none? Okay, Mr. Nanavati, we're ready to go into committee. We've read all the materials. Is there anything you want to add before we go into committee?
No, if at all public has any questions, I'll definitely answer them.
Okay. All right, panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision. Mr. Bayat.
Madam Chair, I'd be quite happy to move approval for this application, as I think it is a minor variance, and I do not see any issues with it.
Okay, do I have a seconder, Mr. Reed? So a motion to approve the application with no conditions, moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 9, 94 Delaware Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from Tom and Susan Main, the owners. We have a staff report from Forestry's asking for condition number 2, correspondence in support from number 100 Delaware Avenue, and I do not show any speakers other than the agent and the owners. Okay, is the agent on the line?
I'm the agent, Mel Rosenblatt. Good morning.
Good morning. You're speaking on behalf of the owners, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, panel members, we have one variance before us. I don't think we need a presentation. Do any of you have any questions for Mr. Rosenblatt? Seeing none? Okay, Mr. Rosenblatt, we've read the materials. We're ready to go into committee to make a decision. Is there anything you want to add before we do so?
Well, I think that we've covered everything in the covering letter, and with the proposed new site plan, it's a matter of demolishing the old garage and replacing it with one that covers the width of the property. It seems pretty straightforward, and we're maintaining more than 50% soft landscaping in the rear yard.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision. Mr. Nipfel.
Madam Chairman, I think that this application is desirable. The covering letter was very helpful. As indicated, the established garage provides some security from the laneway, which I think is reasonable. It also makes very good use of what would have otherwise just been a strip of land that couldn't be put to proper use adjacent to the garage. It appears quite consistent with the neighborhood. I don't see a negative implication at all to the application. I'd like to move approval, subject to forestry condition number 2.
Okay, Ms. Hayes, are you seconding, or you want to add something? Okay, all right. So I have a motion to approve, including forestry condition number 2, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Okay, item number 10, 108 Evans Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have 4 photographs of the subject property, additional site plan showing existing trees. We have email correspondence from transportation, and they have no concerns. And in our supplementary agenda, we received a 5-signature petition in support, and I believe my notes are correct. That includes both adjacent neighbors at, at 110, which is adjacent, 112, 109, 114, and 113. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good morning. Yes, my name is Branko Mladenov. I'm the architect.
Okay, panel members, again, we have 2 variances before us. I don't think we need a presentation. Do any of you have any questions for the agent? Seeing none? Okay, Mr. Mladenov, we don't have any questions. We've read all the materials. We're ready to make a decision on this. Is there anything you want to add before we take it into committee?
Not really. You received this support letter 2 days ago. I'm happy you had a chance to see it. That's all.
Okay, and Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, I have a note here that I wrote down. Should the purpose be to legalize and maintain? Because I thought, like, unless I wrote it in the wrong spot, but.
Through you, Madam Chair, let me just double check, okay?
Okay, thanks.
This is proposed porch enclosure.
So, yeah, maybe I'll just ask you, is it already enclosed or not yet?
No, it's not. It's not. No,
Okay.
it's not.
Okay, I may have written it in the wrong spot on my notes.
It's proposed.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Okay, panel members, so let's take it into committee for a decision then. Mr. Reed.
Thanks, and sorry, Joanne, I got in front of you again. I think this is a very reasonable application, and I think the applicant has obviously made an effort to design the enclosure so it fits in with the design of the house. The architectural elements have been thought through, and I can see no negative impacts from this. So I move to approve with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? Okay. Motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. The next item is item number 11, 6 STRADER Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from Mr. Kadra, the agent, a covering letter from the owners, email correspondence from the agent, planning rationale from the agent. There's an order to comply affecting the subject property. We have email correspondence from the zoning examiner for Toronto Building, letter recommending approval from Ms. Councillor Matlow, 9 form letters in support signed by number 8, which is adjacent, number 10, 15, 21, 22, 26, 28, 35, and 43 STRADER Avenue. Correspondence in opposition from number 4, which is the other adjacent neighbor, as well as correspondence from a solicitor representing the owners, sorry, next door. And in our supplementary agenda yesterday, late yesterday, we received more correspondence from the resident in opposition at number 4, as well as correspondence, copied on correspondence sent to that neighbor by the counselor's office. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Good morning, Madam Chair. I'm here.
Okay, that's Mr. Kadra?
Yes, I'm Kyle Kadra.
Okay, great, thanks. And you're speaking on behalf of the owners, is that correct?
Yes, Madam Chair. And I'm ready for a presentation, or if you don't need a presentation, I can just have some additional material that I would be able to share with you.
Yeah, just give me 1 second. I will need you to do a presentation, but can I just ask staff, how many people do you have holding here to speak? 3. And are they all for number 4, do we know? Yeah, no, because I think Alicia, like I'm trying to determine if Euclid is in opposition or not, or if that's all related to legal representation, because, yeah, do you know what I mean? Yeah, maybe I'll just ask them. Hi, Ms. Windsor. Before I go to the presentation, I just want to confirm, are you the legal representation for number 4 STRADER?
I am.
Okay, and you're speaking on the owner's behalf?
Yes, I am, but we have an architect, Mr. Lim, who's going to be doing most of the
Okay,
speaking on this.
just so you know, normally we have 5 5 minutes per property owner, so I'm, you know.
Understood.
Okay, so if you want to do a little bit of combination with the architect, if you need us to unmute the architect also during your presentation, I can give you maybe an extra minute, but I can't give you 15 minutes for this.
No,
Yeah?
not a problem.
Okay, so.
We anticipated a 5-minute, so no issue.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you were all related to number 4. Okay, so I'm now gonna go back to Mr. Kadra, so you have 5 minutes for a presentation, and we'll start the clock when you start speaking. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Madam Chair. When you started presenting the application, it sounded like there are 2 oppositions, but my understanding is all the oppositions come from the same address.
Yeah,
which
that's
is
what
number
I've
4
just
Street
determined, sir. So yeah, that's what I was asking them about. So they are all together, so it'll be, okay, so go ahead.
Yeah. We designed this house construction. The contractor made an error. The next door neighbor on number 4 kind of implied to our clients that there may seem to be some sort of an error in construction, but the contractor at that time confirmed that there was no error. But eventually it was confirmed by the inspector that the side yard setback has been exceeded by 5 centimeters. The existing side yard setback is 25 centimeters, and which is permitted if, as per the bylaw, provided that the construction remains on that same side yard setback. However, unfortunately, during construction, this error was made, and now we are asking for relief to make it 0.2 meters instead of 0.25 meters. We have submitted a lot of evidence showing that this is not something that is unusual in the area, and my clients also prepared a report with a lot of pictures that clearly shows that we have support, as you have mentioned, from the counselor and the community. We have 9 letters of support. We also received additional 3 letters of support yesterday, which I will be able to, 4 letters of support, which I would be able to submit, and I can tell you that the addresses are 86 and 94 Alameda and 73 and 85 Bude Street. In addition to that, before we applied for this variance, we have contacted community planning, and we have an email dated April 13, 2021 from community planner Catherine Jung, confirming that they do not have any opposition or concerns with this application. I would like to hear from the opposition, and I'll gladly respond to all their claims. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to go to Ms. Windsor. Are you there?
I'm here.
Okay, so we'll start the clock when you start speaking. So if you need us to unmute Mr. Lim, please let us know, okay?
Absolutely, I will.
Okay, great.
So my name is Lisa Windsor. I represent Mr. Chen, who resides at Glochester Avenue.
Okay, hold on one second. We're barely hearing you. I'm not sure if you're speaking straight into your mic or if you have something going in the background, but we can't hear you very well.
Is this better?
A little bit.
I'm not sure what to do. I will talk as loudly as I possibly can. Is this better at all?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay, I'm shouting. So my name is Alicia Windsor. I'm the lawyer who represents Mr. Chen, who lives at STRADER Avenue with his elderly parents. So there was a letter submitted from the owner which contains a lot of irrelevant material, but I do just want to sort of address very quickly that Mr. Chen had to retain me to correspond with the opposing party, the applicant, because they are in fact lawyers. And so that is why there is a lawyer appearing on behalf of Mr. Chen, because they were unable to work it out on their own. And so I had to get involved. And I will tell you that, just as an aside, I've reviewed the communications as well between the parties, and I don't, think that the representation that the applicants were as amenable to dealing with Mr. Chen, as they say.
Okay, are you moving away from this microphone? Because 1 minute you're okay, and then I can't hear you at all.
It's got to be a problem with my connection, which I'm in my office, it shouldn't be. But there's essentially two main points that we want to make, is that the variance requested is not minor, and second of all, the variance is one of three.
I didn't hear.
I'm gonna pass it over to Mr. Lim.
Okay. Mr. Lim? Hang on 1 second, we're unmuting you. Okay, try to speak now, Mr. Lim.
Good morning.
Hi, okay, go ahead. We didn't.
My name is Wes.
Yeah, and by the way, we didn't catch the last sentence that Miss Windsor said. We didn't hear it at all. But go ahead.
Okay, good morning. My name is Wesley Lim. I'm the architect retained by the Chen family at 4 STRADER Avenue, the immediate neighbor to the east of the applicant. The owner of 6 STRADER has advised that building their east addition wall closer to the property line than allowed by the zoning bylaw and not in accordance with an issued building permit was a mistake. By encroaching onto the allowable setback and building an east roof overhang over the property line, all not in accordance with the issued building permit, they also altered the roof geometry to be higher than the existing roof, also against the issued building permit. And please note, the addition is built, and in order to comply has been issued by the city. So the question is, was this in fact a mistake? What contractor does this additional work without asking for additional money, and at whose instruction? The owner of 6 STRADER says they are willing to remedy the overhang, but are making it conditional upon the Chens allowing them to trespass on their roof. Again, this is after forcing themselves onto the roof with their false claims of an access agreement and dropping building materials onto their roof against their wishes. There are alternatives to not bearing scaffolding on the Chen's roof, such as zoom booms, cantilevered scaffolding, etc. But if they can't bear on the Chen's roof, will they not remedy the roof overhang? I hope the committee poses this question to the owners. The owners of 6 STRADER have submitted photographs of other houses in the neighborhood, which only reinforce that existing similar setbacks are too close. The City of Toronto has already established the minimum standard for side yard setbacks. That is 1.2 meters for each side, for a total wall-to-wall of 2.4 meters, that's 8 feet. The zoning bylaw makes provision for legally non-conforming existing setbacks, which are less than 1.2 meters, allowing the existing setback to be maintained, which in this case is 0.25 meters. The minor variance requested is for another 50 millimeters. This is just making an already inadequate setback even worse. The details of this case support the complications and complexity of the implications of the inadequate setback. The owners of 6 STRADER don't want to remedy the encroaching east wall of the addition due to inconvenience and cost. They may claim this would involve moving a supporting wall, requiring temporary shoring of the roof, and imposing inconvenience upon them. It is emphasized that they are able to comply with providing the required setback in a cost-effective manner. They can remove the encroaching 50 millimeter layer of external insulation, provide a thin cladding with a waterproof membrane at the sheathing, and apply insulation at the interior side of the wall to meet the requirements of the building code. The structure as constructed can remain. It appears this matter is all about money. They made serious mistakes and don't want to pay even nominal costs to fix them. Instead, they've been aggressive to, imposed on, and pushed costs to the Chens to hire an architect, a lawyer, all to their benefit and to the detriment of the Chens. They are looking for this committee to give them an easy way out. Please ask them to fix their mistake. Thank you.
Okay. Ms. Windsor, did you have anything else to add?
On my phone as well.
Okay, actually, we can't hear you, but, okay. Okay, yeah, you're gonna try to call in on your phone? We'll wait for a minute. Oh, you're on it. It's still not, it's still like you're barely audible.
But I'm on the phone.
Oh, okay, hang
Hello?
on. Wait. Now we can hear you. Say something else.
I'm on the phone.
Okay.
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, much better.
So Mr. Lim essentially pointed out all of the points that we have is that compliance is possible. They've just chosen to ask for a variance instead of actually complying. Also point out that there are multiple issues with the build that were not according to the plan. And what I was trying to say in the beginning was simply that Mr. Chen had to retain counsel in order to communicate with the neighbors, as they are both lawyers, and he was being essentially imposed upon. Primarily, our issue is that this is not a minor variance in light of the variance which is already occurring because of the grandfathered in setback issues, and the houses are also obviously extremely close. And one thing that I wanted to point out is just because the neighborhood has residences that are incredibly close together, that does not mean that we should, that this should be allowed to continue. There's no reason for this variance to be granted. They can very easily, as Mr. Lim explained, keep the wall and just move their insulation around. So that would be, I don't know if Mr. Chen wants to say anything, but that would be my closing point.
Okay, well, you've at your 5 minutes, actually probably a bit more, but.
Understood.
So let me see if Mr. Kadra, are you there? And actually.
Yes, Madam Chair.
Panel members, did you have any questions for either the architect or the lawyer? Okay, so Mr. Kadra, just hold off 1 second. Mr. Nifel, who do you have a question of?
Madam Chairman, to Mr. Kadra, I must
to
have
Mr.
missed
Kadra?
something,
Okay,
or
go
else it's the result of a confusion between metric and imperial measurements. But as I understand it, the variance is to allow a 0.2 meter setback rather than a 1.2 meter setback as required by the bylaw, which means that the deficiency is 1 meter. In the subsequent letters from the applicant, there's reference to the east yard setback being 2 inches wider than the permit, which would tend to suggest you didn't need a variance. Then there's reference to the setback or the problem or the deficiency being 2 inches, and in another case, 5 centimeters. I'm totally confused because it's been referred to in so many instances. Is the variance that's before us correct? You actually need a variance to reduce the side yard setback by 1 meter, not 5 centimeters or 2 inches. Is that correct?
Through the chair, so let me explain that, Mr. Nifel. So there is an exception in the bylaw that allows the existing setback to be continued. So let's say your existing side yard setback is 0.25 meters and you want to build an addition to the back or the top, then you can continue with the 0.25 or 0.2 or whatever it is that is under 1.2 meters. However, at any point, if this existing side yard setback is exceeded, meaning that it becomes less than the existing 0.25 meters, then the general provisions of the bylaw would apply, which is 1.2 meters for a new building.
So the variance is for 1 meter.
So the variance technically, from a technical perspective, is 1 meter, correct?
Thank you.
Yes. However, the existing house is at 0.25 and is lawfully existing, which technically permits a 0.25 side yard setback. So if I have answered that question, Mr. Nifal, through the chair, I can also start addressing the comments that we have received from the opposition.
Yeah, that's fine, thank you.
Thank you. So through you, Madam Chair, there are several claims that the opponents have made. One of them addresses the roof height. So we do not have a variance for the roof height. During construction, there was an increase in the roof height as well. A construction matter, and we have submitted revisions for the building department and got those approved. So there is no variance for the roof height. The other aspect is that the overhang. So the existing building overhang is already encroaching and is not complying, however, lawfully existing, of course. So when they built the new roof, they overlooked that the addition overhang may not encroach onto the other property. That was a mistake that they did, but we didn't apply for a variance for this reason on purpose, because the contractor is planning to cut the new addition roof to make it comply as per the building permit document. Now, there's like a civil matter that I don't think we should discuss here, or we can, it's up to you, that our contractor is not able to access that area because we need the permission of the owners of STRADER. So we're hoping that they would allow that so that we can cut the roof. Basically, that's simply it. We're not planning to keep it, and we really need to get that access in order for us to be able to close the permit. My understanding is that there is an agreement between the two neighbors to access, and it was existing in the beginning, but like the conflict started happening later, and then our owner did not want to, trespass as they have claimed here. So we're just holding until we get permission from the neighbors. In terms of the cost effectiveness and the location of the insulation, first of all, I was surprised to read a letter from a fellow architect making claims that these variances are not, this single variance for 5 centimeter is not a minor variance. This is a matter that should be decided by committee and the planning department, which the planning department already has support for. In terms of building code aspects, removing the insulation from the outside to the inside would result in the insulation becoming non-continuous, because there is a break at the first floor ceiling, and this will not comply with the code. We have discussed these matters thoroughly and did a lot of research to find a way, if there is a way available to do this remedial work in a cost-efficient manner, we would have done it. The implying that we have a hidden agenda to go through all of this just for 5 centimeters is unrealistic, honestly. And we are really hoping that the committee just offers us relief to get this matter closed, because the construction is completed, and shifting the wall 5 centimeters will result in extremely substantial costs. You're gonna have to do a lot of temporary shoring for the ceilings and the joist and completely remove the studs. It's a lot of work. I can get into the cost if you like, but I hope that you do understand that this is not the case, and the claim that it is doable simply by removing the insulation is incorrect technically, not considering even what is going on in the inside, because if we were gonna do the inside, we have to remove all the drywall, all the cabinets on those walls, and have to rebuild the walls and the layering. I am really sorry that there is conflict between these two neighbors, and I really hope that, and I'm willing to volunteer my time to resolve this matter, the civil matter, in terms of the roof overhang and addressing the concerns. But our concern here today is the 5 centimeters. And in my personal opinion, and I do a lot of these applications in the city of Toronto, and this is very common. Mistakes do happen during construction, and I hope And I ask for your consideration and for the neighbors' consideration as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kadra. Panel members, do you have any questions for Mr. Kadra? Okay, let's take it into committee. Any comments? Mr. Bayat.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think I might just start this off. I think that, first of all, I think the variance that's sitting in front of us, the requested variance, is not a point. I forget what the number was that the architect just mentioned, the agent mentioned, but before us, we're looking at a 1 meter variance. So that's what I'm looking at. That's what I need to think about. The other piece that struck me was the length to which the neighbor who will be impacted has had to go to try and make their case. Errors in construction cannot now become, from my perspective, something that we would say this is fine. The neighbor now has to live with a mistake made by construction at the adjacent house. So I'm conflicted in terms of the application, and as I look at it, 1 meter variance from the required setback being 1.2, and then reducing it to 0.2 seems a bit excessive in my view. So I'm not very comfortable supporting this application.
Mr. Reed, did you want to speak?
Sure. Thanks, Chair. My main concern was with the overhanging encroachment, but I'm pleased to hear that that is going to be remedied. I don't have concerns with the application as it's put forward. I think the fact that it does read large, I think the 1 meter, but it's a continuation of the existing setback plus 2 centimeters. So I think it's defensible, and I think there obviously are issues between the two parties, but I don't think that from a minor variance perspective, what's being pursued is major or is meaningful. So I'm going to be supporting this.
Okay. Anyone else? Ms. Hayes?
I think the roof, I would agree with Mr. Reed that the roof overhang is my major concern. They've chosen not to seek that as a variance, so they will have to correct that situation to comply, and I take it that that will happen. With respect to the applicant's submission that, you know, just because the existing structure doesn't comply with the side yard automatically means any extension doesn't have to either. I disagree with that submission. Having said that, however, judging the addition by the existing site conditions and whether or not that 2 centimeters would be any additional impact, I don't have a problem with it from that perspective, and I would support the application.
Okay, Mr. Nipfel, did you have anything to add?
I agree with both Joanne and Peter. I think the way in which the variance is presented is a little misleading because it sounds like the setback is deficient by 1 meter. I appreciate the applicant's explanation and that the fact that the addition could actually be closer based on its relationship to the existing building. I don't have difficulty with the location of the addition either, particularly because at least as I'm looking at it, at least half of it is adjacent to an existing building on number 4 Strader. I think the larger concern, like my colleagues, is with the roof overhang, and if that is going to be addressed and remedied, I also don't have trouble, and I would be supporting the application.
I just have a question, Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer. I mean, this is built, right?
Yes.
So should the purpose not be to legalize?
Yes, I was actually just going to raise that. So for public record, it should read to legalize and maintain the rear two-story addition with a rear ground floor deck. And then the variance would read the altered detached dwelling is located 0.2 meters from the east side lot line.
Okay, so we're just replacing will be with is in the variance. So we should still, as amended? Approve
Yes.
as amended?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think my notes should have been on this one, not number 10. All right. Okay, panel members, I'm ready for a motion. Mr. Reed.
Happy to move a motion to approve this application with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? So as amended, right, Mr. Reed?
That's right.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Nifl. Okay, so so the purpose will be changed as stated by the Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, and the variance will be amended to remove the words will be located and replaced with is located. Okay, and I have that is moved as amended by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Nifl. All in favor? Okay, Mr. Bayat, you dissent?
Yes.
Okay, so Mr. Bayat dissents. Your application has been approved, and thank you everyone for participating. And make sure that you send in your information so that you know, if you do want to appeal, instructions will be sent out to you by email. Okay, item number 12, 12 BARRIE Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 6 photographs of the subject property, and 10 form letters in support from number 4, 9, 10, which is adjacent, 11, 13, 14, the other adjacent neighbor, as well as 15, 17, 19, and 21 BARRIE Avenue. Do I have the agent on the line?
Hi, Madam Chair. This is Ryan Dunlop, and I am the agent for this project.
All right. Again, panel members, we have 2 variances before us. I don't think we need a presentation. I don't show any speakers listed. Do you have any questions for Mr. Dunlop? No? Okay, Mr. Dunlop, we've read all the material. We're ready to go into committee. Is there anything you want to add before we do so?
No, I don't think so. I think it's pretty straightforward.
Okay. All right, panel members, we're in committee. Mr. Bayat.
Madam Chair, as I look at this application, I think it is fairly straightforward. I don't see any particular issues with it. I'd be quite happy to move to approve.
Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Bayat, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Okay. The next item is item number 13, 85A Swanwake Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. Correspondence in support from 87A Swanwick, 32C Osborne, and 31 Kimberly Avenue. We have correspondence in opposition from 83B Swanwick Avenue, and we have in our supplemental agenda correspondence in support from number 90, and another letter also from 83A. So 83A and B are both in support. And I'm showing 2 speakers. Are they including, well, and then plus the agent? Like, how many do you have on the line? 85A and B? Okay, let me just, can you just give me the first one, 85A? I just want to see if they're, oh, hang on, those are the owners. No, I think. Now I'm getting confused. Hey, or the 85A. Okay, anyway, can you just open this? I just want to see if they want to speak or not, or if they're just here in interest. Thanks. Okay, hi Vid, are you on, can you hear me?
Yeah, we have Mike from our architect firm. He's going to speak to this.
Okay, so are you in opposition?
No.
So are you part of, are you with the owner then?
Yeah, I did send you an email on this.
I'm sorry, I just have names listed here and it just says support, interest, or opposition. So I'm just trying to determine if I need a presentation or not. So you're with the agent then and the owner?
Correct.
Okay. And what about Sarah Erskine? Is she also with you or not? No? Okay. Hi, Sarah?
Hi, yes, I'm Sarah Erskine. I'm the adjoining neighbor and I'm in opposition. So when I
You're in opposition?
Yes.
Okay. All right, thank you for letting me know. Okay. So, Mr. D'Oliveira, are you there?
Hi, yes, I'm here.
Okay, so I've got you listed, Julia Haggerty and Vid Kartavicius. Who's doing the presentation? It'll be 5 minutes, so I don't know if you want to split it between you or how you want to do this.
No, it'll be myself.
So it's just you? Okay.
Yep.
So just if you identify yourself, and after that, when you start speaking, we'll start the clock.
Certainly. So, hello, my name is Mike D'Oliveira. I am acting as the agent for 85A Swanwick, and I'm with Replacement Design, located at 911 Davenport Road. We are seeking relief to the bylaw to create a rear third-story addition. The variances we are seeking today are in line with similar approvals the committee has made in the past, and our clients, as you had mentioned, have spoken to many of the neighbors in the neighborhood, collecting 5 letters of support. Our clients made sure to reach out to the neighbors on either side well in advance of the hearing, and in June, had received confirmation from 83B that they had no objections to the addition, provided no new windows were located on the side, which we made sure to do, but unfortunately, they've since changed their mind, and that's why we have the letter of opposition posted. But we did have those discussions with them ahead of time to try and mitigate any concerns moving forward. So unfortunately, that was a bit of a last-minute thing that we heard back from them in the last week or so, that they were going to be an objection. Upon designing the addition, it was important to us and the homeowners that we limit the increase of the overall footprint of the building, and we achieved this by limiting the size of our addition to that of the existing rear deck. So as you can see, if you move on to our proposed site plan, we're really just filling in that portion there that's existing 2-story. So we still have a bit of a setback from the rear of the property, so we still have that kind of stepping back feature of the rear when you look at it from the rear yard. Doing this allowed us to minimize the overall impact of the home and also limit our variances. As you can see, we only have a variance for the use setback in the area. And although we are asking for 1.05 floor space index, this is only a difference of 0.06 FSI in relation to the existing condition, which is already over at 0.99. We're also well below other approvals in the area, such as 166 Swanwick, which is located in a similar size lot which was approved for 1.21 FSI, so we're well within other approvals in the area. And although we have a variance for the use setback, this is actually continuing the existing condition of the property. As I said, we're simply just filling in that portion that's existing 2-story, so we're just continuing that same use setback along with the new addition. So there really is very minor changes to the lot overall. And I open it up to any questions or to respond back to whatever the neighbor may.
Yeah, I think we'll hear from the opposition, and then you can respond, and then if the members have questions, we'll give them then.
Certainly.
Okay, thanks. Ms. Erskine, are you there?
Yeah, I am, thank you.
Okay, so if you can just identify yourself, name and address, and after you've done
Yes.
that, we'll start the clock. You have 5 minutes, okay?
Thank you. Sarah Erskine, 85B Swanwick. I am Julia's attached home. We're a semi. And I have had some concerns about the 3rd floor attachment since our decks are attached, our walls are attached. Structurally, roofing, that thing, and I suggested I speak to her architect, and she said that she's not going ahead with these plans. She's doing the basement and 1st floor, but she's not, but she thought it would be good for reselling purposes. So I think that's why my other neighbor objected as well. and she said it was because of my feelings opposing this construction that she wasn't going to go ahead with it, as well as costs, but she sees it as a future selling feature. Just as I don't want this addition now, with a known quantity, my neighbor, I don't really look forward to a sale and then having to deal with a new neighbor and doing the alterations. The brick wall, the roof line, the placement of the eaves, I've looked at it, and as I said, I suggested I talk to her architect to allay my fears, but then she said she was not going ahead with it, that might be unnecessary, so I never did. I worry about the structural impact on my roof and deck, and to expand on the ratio of the floor space from 0.6 to 1.5 times the area seems unnecessary addition imposition. We're very small backyards, and the brick wall is not something that I see as something that adds to our neighborhood and for the amount of space that she will add to it. So I think that she's not going ahead with it. I don't want, therefore, it to be sitting there for somebody else to do without me having access to make any oppositions in the future. I think those are, my fear of structural changes, my fear of the brick wall and light, and the imposition in our very small backyards. So those are my main concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the speaker panel members? Okay, seeing none. Mr. D'Oliveira?
Certainly. So they mentioned the fact that our...
Can I just ask you, what's the existing FSI before you start? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so the existing FSI is 0.99, so that's 151.56 square meters. Our proposed is 105, and that's 161.07 square meters. So in relation to the existing, it's only 9.51 square meters more than the current situation.
Okay. All right, so go ahead. You have 5 minutes to respond.
Okay. So as they mentioned, our client doesn't want to move ahead with the addition at this time. And although that is true, this was a decision that was made in the last few weeks leading up to the committee after receiving back some pricing from contractors. And it doesn't necessarily mean that pending the approval here today, they wouldn't want to pursue this in the future when prices come back down. As I'm sure you're well aware, over the last year and a bit, things have kind of gone a little crazy in terms of overall pricing due to materials. So some of the prices they got back were a little higher than they had expected. But it doesn't mean that once things get back to normal or they save a little bit more that they wouldn't want to pursue this moving forward. And in terms of the rear yards, as I mentioned, this addition is just above the existing second story. The first floor extends another 10 feet beyond this current addition. So in terms of impact to the rear yards, I don't really see how that would be the case. Even the attached neighbor has a similar addition that extends another 10 feet beyond this. So there's nothing really here that's going to affect the rear yard per se. If anything, they get more privacy on their own third floor deck, as we're not going to have that shared space. There's going to be a wall kind of dividing the two, which gives them more privacy and makes things a little bit more sound resistant. So there really isn't going to be that much impact to them. And in terms of structural changes and any possible leaks and all that, that's all things that will be looked at by the building inspector if they do move forward with the addition later on. And that's all things that our client's going to take into consideration. Obviously, they don't want any structural issues on their own home, so that would kind of get mitigated as the construction process moves forward. I believe that addresses most of their concerns. Open to any questions you might have.
Okay, let me see. Panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Mr. Bayat?
Just a quick one, Madam Chair, if I may. Did I understand correctly that the application really isn't for imminent construction? It's something for the future, is that correct?
So originally, when we had first applied to the committee, it was part of the plan to move forward with this construction. We had a building permit in for this and interior alterations, but now that the pricing came back, as I mentioned, a little higher than what our client had expected due to all the surge in pricing lately, they've decided to cut back this portion of the work, and potentially down the road, if we do get approval here today, then if prices are okay and they have enough saved up at that time, we might move forward with it. But it was initially part of the plan. It's just things have to change as prices came back.
So essentially, I'd be correct in saying that the application is really in case, it's an in case we decide to build.
Yeah, at this point, I'd say so.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Mr. Niffel?
I wonder if you might clarify something on drawing Z9, the existing third floor plan. The existing bedroom exits to a deck, is that correct? And the deck is the same footprint as the third floor addition that you're seeking approval for?
Correct.
So it's not necessarily roof below, there's an existing deck out there?
Yes, which is over the existing second floor,
Yeah.
similar to the attached neighbor.
Okay, thank you very much.
Ms. Hayes?
Yes, sorry. I didn't quite catch in your initial submission with respect to the FSI, I know your existing is 0.99, but you raised provided some other examples of what you're requesting, and I didn't catch all that. Could you just repeat that for me, please?
Sure. So I had mentioned the existing was 0.99, which is 151.56 square meters. And our proposed was 161.07 square meters. So the difference between the two is 9.51. If you're asking in relation to the other approval, that was on 166 Swanwake, and that was for 1.21 FSI. Their lot is a little bit bigger than ours, so I believe that would make their overall number a little bit bigger as well. I could go back and pull that number, but I don't have that available right this second, but I can pull that up if you'd like.
Is your existing FSI reflective of what exists in other properties, or are you already high?
There are some other properties in the area that have similar existing FSIs as what we've proposed here. Neighboring Pickering has 1.03, 64 Malvern 0.92. This is all addresses that came up in the research that was within 500 meters of our property.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any further questions, panel members? Seeing none, let's take it into committee for a decision. Mr. Reed.
Thanks, Chair. I'll go ahead and if my fellow members have any other thing to add, please let me know. But I think what's being requested is very minor. I think we're looking at an increase of less than 10 square meters, and it's being massed in towards the center of the house, and so I think that will limit the impacts on both the street, obviously, but the backyards as well. I think that separation distance goes a way to make this a minor variance. So I'll move to approve this application with no conditions.
Seconded by Ms. Hayes. Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? The application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 14, 25 Tyrell Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property, a previous decision affecting the property, as well as an order to comply that was issued back in December 3rd of 2018. We have a covering in the supplemental. We received yesterday a covering letter from the agent, an arborist report prepared by New World Arborists, and 3 form letters in support that include both adjacent neighbors at 23 and 27 Tyrell, and I believe 95 Braymere Gardens is behind. Okay, do I have the agent on the line?
Good morning, it's Dana Aaron. I'm the homeowner. We also have, I guess, in attendance, the architect, Joe Baldwin, who's been helping us bring
Okay.
this to you today.
All right, panel members, there's 2 variances before us. I don't have any speakers in opposition. I don't think we need a presentation. questions? Mr. Niffel?
I wonder if the applicant can explain to us why the construction took place without approval.
Yes, good morning, Mr. Niffel. When we moved forward with the construction on the deck in particular, I did not know that we needed a permit. And we had an existing deck and it was broken, the stairs were broken from the previous owners and some of the wood was coming up, so we had actually just had someone fix it and made an extension, and I did not know at the time we needed a permit. We subsequently engaged an architect and realized we had to come to committee for this variance.
Fair enough, thank you.
Any other questions, panel members? Okay, Ms. Aaron, we have no further questions. We've read all the materials. Is there anything you want to add before we take this into committee for a decision?
No, just thank you for your consideration and apologies for the disjointed nature that this ultimately came and doing the work without the permit at the outset, so thank you.
Okay. Let's take it into committee for a decision. Mr. Niffel?
Madam Chairman, I think this is a very minor application, and the mistake about proceeding without approval, I think is completely understandable given that it was a deck. I think the arborist report is commendable, and I assume that the recommendations of the arborist will be followed. Based on that, I can see nothing about the application that would be a negative impact on the neighborhood or surrounding neighbors, and it does, in fact, if I'm correct, have the support of both adjacent neighbors. On that basis, I'd like to move approval without conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? Motion to approve, moved by Mr. Nitfel, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? The application's been unanimously approved. Item number 15, 178 Bartlett Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, a previous committee decision affecting the property. Okay, do you have, how many people do you have for this one?
I currently have one on the line, but I'm giving a call to the.
So you've got the agent, or do you have?
I have the agent, Mike Kozak, and then I'm calling the second person.
Can you just unmute Mr. Kozak? I just want to see if he's in opposition or not.
Through you, Madam Chair, I just called him and I think he may have hung up. Sorry.
Okay. And what about the second one that we have to call? Okay, you know what, panel members, let's take 5-minute break while we try to sort out the opposition, because some of one doesn't have access to computers, so it might take a bit longer. Okay, so let's come back at 10:45. Okay. Let me know when. Hello?
Hello?
Hi, I'm sorry, but I'm just trying to determine, are you here for one
Yeah, can you hear me? So can you hear me okay now?
Yeah, I can hear you, but who do I have on the line right now? Are you here for
Mike Kozak.
Oh, hi, Mike. Mike, are you here in opposition? Are you here in opposition to this?
No, not at all. I'm 3 houses down, and I was thinking about doing something similar to what 178 proposes. So I'll wish them all the luck in the world. I just kind of wanted to hear what was going on.
Okay, so then I just wanted to. We weren't sure because there's no name showing up, just a phone number. So that's great.
Well, I'm at the office. I'm at the phone. I'm not on your web portal or whatever you call it.
No worries. You can listen in then. So I just didn't know if you were in opposition or not.
No. Tell them I'm 3 houses down and I'm in full support. And
I think everybody everybody heard you, so we're good.
Okay, great.
Okay, thanks. Okay, so the other one for 180. Okay, panel members, we're making one more attempt to contact the resident at 180, who I'm showing is in opposition. So just bear with us for another minute. Any luck? No? All right. Mr. Ospros, are you there?
Hello?
Hi, are you there, Mr. Ostros?
Yes, I'll be the acting agent on behalf of the homeowners.
Okay. All right, panel members, we have one variance before us. As you heard, we have one person in support at 186 Bartlett, and we have made a number of attempts to connect with 180, who shows in opposition. We have no letters on file to let us know what the opposition would have been. So I don't think we need a presentation. Do any of you have any questions for the agent? Mr. Niffel.
I just wanted to clarify what the existing condition about parking is. This is a very large ancillary building, and I was surprised that it doesn't include parking. I wonder, could you enlighten me as to why parking isn't provided and what you currently do for parking on the site?
Sure. The homeowner currently do not own a car, and they're very green and environmentalist, and so they don't intend to require any parking, but they do need the storage. The size of the building is, I think, about 400 square feet. It's intended mostly to store the stuff they have in their house.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Bayat.
Just on a similar vein as Mr. Niffel's question, this is an existing garage that's going to be demolished, replaced by not an ancillary building. And I understand from the agent that the current owners do not have a car, and perhaps not needing a car. But in terms of long-term usage, assuming that they sell the home at some point, this will be a home with no parking. And that would be my concern when no parking is provided, when you do have a space that could be converted could be used as a garage in the future. Could they not convert this building into a garage, use it for storage so that in the future the parking space is still provided? My concern would be that there would be no parking in the future.
Yeah, my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the minimum parking requirement is currently under review by the Planning and Housing Committee, and they've had 2 rounds of public consultation in June and September, and I believe the amendment is going to council next month. So in, you know, if all goes well, next month we won't even need a variance, but as it stands now, we're asking that the minimum required parking space would get some relief from that.
Can I just ask staff to confirm that that is going to council, or are you aware at all of this, what was just stated?
Through you, Madam Chair, I'm not aware of it, so I can't confirm.
Okay. Okay, any further questions, panel members? Ms. Hayes?
Is street parking allowed on Bartlett, and is it by permit?
Yes, it is, and it is.
And is there available permits?
The house currently has no
capacity.
The capacity of the house? Or
no, the story. Is there still street permits available?
It's my understanding that, yeah, it's my understanding that they could get a street parking permit if they chose, but like I said, they don't have a car, and that's my understanding. That street parking is available.
Thank you.
Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, let's take it into committee. Any comments? Mr. Reid.
Thanks. I'm happy to start, and I think this is supportable. The fact that we're just talking about a parking space, and I think to Joanne's point, assuming that Bartlett does have spaces available, I think that option is there for the future. I was pleased to see that there's no variances being requested in terms of size of ancillary building or rear yard soft landscape. So I think with that in perspective, from my perspective, this is worth supporting. So I'll move a motion to approve with no conditions.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Ms. Hayes? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reid, seconded by Ms. Hayes. All in favor? Okay, your application has been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 16, 365 Dovercourt Road. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, presentation materials submitted by the agent. We have correspondence expressing concern and interest from number 363, which is adjacent. We have correspondence in opposition from 363 as well as 68 Churchill Avenue. And from what I noted, there were concerns regarding soundproofing, noise, parking, and why grant another unit when there are ongoing issues. Do I have the agent on the line?
Good morning, Madam Chair and committee members. My name is Adam Brander. My address is 49 Bolton Avenue in Toronto. I'm the agent, the architect for the proposal at 365 Dovercourt Road.
Okay, give me 1 second. Do you have the opposition on? Okay, Mr. Brander, I'm going to need you to do a presentation. We'll start the clock when you start speaking. I have one person listed as speaking in opposition.
Okay, thank you. I'm here to request relief for 2 variances. One prescribes 2 on-site parking spaces to be provided where 1 is proposed. If we can look at support material sheet 3, we can see this location offers excellent local scores for walkability and transit, specifically as positive alternatives to personal motor vehicles. It remarks that errands do not require a car and world-class public transportation, and this would seem like a supportable, most ideal scenario to meet transportation needs, utilizing local infrastructures while reducing the burden and congestion on streets. As a more direct support to providing parking, if we refer to support material sheet 2, it's noted that the subject property is situated in an area where street permit parking is permitted, and City of Toronto permit parking confirmed as of October 12th, there are 61 local street parking spaces that are not being utilized, and available to accommodate a possible need for one additional parking space relating to this proposal. Second variance looks at the interior floor area of secondary suites as not more than 45%, where this proposal comprises 56%. 11% difference would seem minor. The intent of this recently modified zoning clause was actually to make it more permissible for secondary dwellings and smaller properties. Previously, a minimum average unit size of 65 meters squared was applicable, where now the percentage basis allows for increased dwellings and smaller properties. The average unit size of this proposal is 95.8 meters squared, which would seem reasonable as it far exceeds this 65 meter squared minimum. Another way to look at it, should this proposal not salvage existing structure and rather build new in the R zone, this would be deemed a triplex. And if we refer to support material page 1, an excerpt from the zoning bylaw shows permitted building types in the R zone include single family, duplex, triplex, fourplex, and apartment buildings. So a new build such as this would fit fully in the zoning. Also to note, Dovercourt Road is zoned as a major street, and therefore the more intense residential uses in the R zone would seem more fitting. And we feel this proposal is for an incremental contribution towards the city's gentle density initiatives, and it's felt there's nothing objectionable about the minor variance application, and it meets the 4 tests. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, do I have Katri on the line?
Yeah.
Hi, Katri?
Hi.
Hi, can you just identify yourself for the record? And after you've done that, we'll start the clock. You have 5 minutes.
Okay. Hi, my name is Katri Sertic, and I'm the owner of 363 Dovercourt, who is attached as a semi to 365 Dovercourt. I am in opposition due to sound issues. The new owner bought the house, and before they got permits, they started construction and illegally took down the soundproofing we had on the party wall to expose the brick wall. It's been an illegal Airbnb with a revolving door of party people. My tenant on the main floor is also constantly complaining. We've never had sound issues before this new owner removed the soundproofing, and now the sound is so bad we can hear everything. We can hear them, like every word being said. I've heard people having sex. The city inspector over a year ago has asked him to put the soundproofing back to the STC 50 that was there and to do a sound test to prove STC 50. This still has not been done, but they continue to Airbnb it to party people. The neighbors all around call this house the party house, and there's been over 25 sound complaints just this year already. Multiple calls to police for loud partying in COVID times of lockdown, so you can imagine what it's like sharing a wall with them. I've had to leave almost every weekend to my mom's due to the constant noise. So adding more people will just make the sound worse, I feel. I worry that my tenant on the main floor will leave. I'm not against them putting in a new apartment, but I asked the whole party wall be at an SDC 50, which is required for new construction, and I asked the committee to ask them this. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Brander, are you there?
Hi, Adam. You've been unmuted on our end.
Thank you. I can. Did you want me to speak to the comments?
Yeah, I mean, I will just make note for the speaker that this committee, you know, there are certain conditions that we're not able to put on. We can perhaps ask Mr. Brander to speak to your request of an SDC 50, because this committee only looks at the variances that are before us, and most of the things that you stated are related to different departments, including bylaw enforcement. But perhaps, Mr. Brander, if you can address the SDC 50 request for the soundproofing.
Yeah. I guess I'd just start by saying currently there is a permit open on the property, so perhaps at this time the work is not complete, but the intent is to get the permits closed on this property, so any sound attenuation requirements will be maintained in accordance with building permits prior to closing permits and creating occupancy for the newly created unit. And I think soundproofing is a good thing, especially in these adjoined properties. So I can advise the owner to increase the soundproofing above all code minimums in relation to building permit related work.
Okay, and perhaps you could also encourage them to speak to the neighbor about it, just to let them know what's going on with it. I think that would be
yes, most
a very neighborly thing to do. Okay, panel members, do you have any other questions for Mr. Brander, or also the speaker? I can bring her back if you have questions. Okay, Ms. Hayes and then Mr. Niffel.
Is the applicant living on the property, or are all 3 units rented out, and are they long-term or short-term rentals? And if short-term, is it licensed?
The applicant, I'm the architect for the proposal, so I don't live on the property. I know they're under construction right now, creating a second unit, so that one is not occupied. And there's one existing unit that I believe is to be occupied for long-term use.
Mr. Niffel.
Sorry, is the applicant intending to live on the property, or are all the units to be rented out?
I'm the applicant. I live at 49 Fulton Avenue.
So this is going to be 3 apartments that will be rented?
Self-contained. I don't know if the owner intends to occupy one of them.
Okay.
Is that okay, Mr. Niffel?
I wonder, Mr. Brander, could you clarify the existing condition? Your drawings indicate that there's an existing proposed unit number 2 on the second floor or an existing unit number 2 on the second floor, an existing unit number 1 in the basement. I gather that the work on those 2 is complete and that they're occupied, but the main floor is on your drawings noted as a proposed unit number 3. What exactly is going to change over the current situation? I guess my question is an extension of Ms. Hayes. Is the second floor suite existing and rented? Is the basement suite existing and rented? And how is the main floor currently being used?
Yes, of course. Through you, Madam Chair, the upper floor unit is existing and maintained. There was a permit created to create 2 units within this property last year, and that permit is currently open. So the work has not got its final inspection, and this proposal seeks to remove the stair connecting the ground floor and the basement level to create 2 self-contained units. So there'll be an additional kitchen added to the property to create 2 separate units, both with sanitary and food prep.
Okay, but the neighbor indicates that there's an incredible amount of noise at the present time. What is the use of the ground floor at the present time?
It's under construction in relation to the basement unit, so it's an interconnected space there.
So there's no one living on the ground floor at the present time?
Correct. To my knowledge, it's only the unit that doesn't include any construction, which is on the second floor.
Okay, that doesn't seem to correspond to what the neighbor is indicating, because she was talking about a variety of sounds that she's hearing, which indicates people living in the ground floor. So what I'm trying to get a handle on is what is going to change between what exists now and what is proposed if this application is approved. So what you're saying is the change would be more people, more tenants on the ground floor because that floor is currently vacant. Is that correct?
I don't know on the number of people that are occupying this property now. But the proposed unit, it'll be on the ground floor. It'll be a 3-bedroom unit, and it will be separated from the basement unit that currently has permits open for a 2-bedroom configuration.
Okay, and there was also reference to sound attenuating being ordered by the building inspector. Can you clarify, have you received an order to place sound attenuating measures or to take sound attenuating measures on the party wall?
No. The permit issued last year was to the satisfaction of the examiners with respect to all sound attenuation, and should there be any orders, we'll obviously work with the building department to make adjustments as needed and submit any revisions to the permit that's open now.
Okay, then I guess my question is to the appellant, that what was the order that was dealing with sound attenuation?
Okay, so you'd like me to bring back Katri?
I'd just like to understand if there's an outstanding order to adjust the sound.
Yeah, just give me a second.
Thanks.
Hi.
Hi, Katri. So Mr. Nipfel, I don't know if you need him to clarify or if you heard the question.
I've heard the question. There is an order. That's what the inspector, Chris Grimaldi, has told me. This has been over a year, and he's asked to do a sound test, since they said that they haven't changed the soundproofing, and we're still waiting to do that. The main floor is also has people living in it. I hear them, I see them, I see a makeup kitchen already there, and the basement floor is unexcavated right now. And there's only one parking spot on the premise where it lists 2.
Thank you very much.
Do any other panel members have a question for Katri? No? Okay, thanks a lot, Katri.
Sorry, Madam Chair, if I may.
Oh,
just a quick comment.
Okay.
Having listened to the questions that were presented by my colleagues and Mr. Brander's responses, I just find that the application or the applicant is having difficulty responding clearly to a lot of the questions and to the issues raised by the neighbor. It doesn't sit very well with me. That's just my comment. Thank you.
Oh, that's just a comment, not a question. There's no question
Not a
in there?
question.
Okay. All right, thank you, Katri. Mr. Brander, are you back?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay,
through you,
I
Madam.
guess it sounds like you're not up to snuff on all the orders, whatever orders to comply or notices of violation on the property. Is that correct?
There's been no orders that have
There's
been provided to the architect of record. No.
Okay, so you're not aware of any orders?
No.
Okay. Panel members, do you have any further questions for Mr. Brander? Okay. Mr. Nipfel?
I have a question for the Deputy Secretary Treasurer.
Okay, go ahead.
Is it possible to move a deferral of this application until the order to provide soundproofing has been addressed?
Through you, Madam Chair, if that's the decision that the committee takes, then that is fine.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take it into committee then. I don't see any further questions. Okay, did you want to move that then, Mr. Nipfel?
Yes, Madam Chairman, there is merit in increasing density in neighborhoods, definitely, but it does appear that the adjacent property owner in this case is being put to considerable discomfort and inappropriately being inconvenienced because of what's going on in this property. It does sound as though soundproofing has been identified by the building inspector. She's identified the actual name of the inspector and that there was an order. And in defense of the architect, that just may not have been made available to him. It doesn't mean that he is not advising us of it. He may not himself have been advised of it. So I think all things considered, a deferral in this case would be appropriate to allow for the soundproofing order to be complied with, and that would be my motion.
Okay, so I have a motion to defer this matter until the soundproofing issue has been addressed by the applicant. Do I have a seconder? Mr. Bayat? Okay, all in favor? Okay, so that motion is approved, so the matter has been deferred, and Mr. Brander, yeah, if you can, once you have been advised by your applicants that the soundproofing has been rectified, then bring the matter back and we'll put it on an agenda as soon as we can. Okay, item number 17, 203 Greenwood Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, and I don't show any speakers. We have 2 variances. I don't think we need a presentation, but can I have the agent identify himself, please?
Good morning, panel. I'm Blaine Calderon, the agent for 209 Greenwood Avenue.
Let me see if there's any questions. Panel members, any questions? Okay, I don't see any questions, Mr. Calderon. We're ready to take it into committee. Is there anything you need to bring to our attention that wasn't in the materials?
The client would just like to note that prior to purchasing the dwelling, it was actually used as a triplex, as a rooming house. We've also asked Toronto Parking whether there's permits available on the street, and there are permits available, and also that the walkability, bikeability, and transit scores for the property are quite high. And that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, any questions? Okay, so we'll take it into committee for a decision. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. I think this is a reasonable application. I think the interior area increase is not out of line. It is on a major thoroughfare, well serviced by transit, and I think the parking is adequate in the context of the circumstances of the application and the location of the property. And if my colleagues have no further comments, I'd move a motion to approve the application, no conditions.
Okay, do I have Mr. Reed is seconding? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Your application has been unanimously approved. Okay, item number 18, we have before us the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We do have a deferral request on this one. If I can just ask staff, do you have the person on the line? No? Okay. Okay, Mr. Naylor, are you on the line?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, can you just state your name for the record and then why you need a deferral?
Sure. My name is Chris Naylor, representing Naylor Architecting, the applicant for this minor variance. After completing the design drawings that we put together and submitted to committee, my client has come back and asked me to do some further design work. The intent of this building is for a recreational outdoor ancillary building. He actually wants to put a golf simulator in there, and the golf simulator that he would like to put in is actually a little larger than this building as it's proposed. So I've got revised design drawings that I want to submit to committee at a later date.
Okay, thank you very much. Panel members, let's take it into committee for a decision on the deferral. Mr. Reed.
Thank you. I think this is a reasonable request to defer the application, given that the designs are in flux, so I move to approve the request for deferral.
Okay, do I have a seconder? Mr. Bayat? Okay, motion to approve, moved by Mr. Reed, seconded by Mr. Bayat. I'm sorry, that the matter be deferred. All in favor? Your application has been deferred. Okay, item 19, 180 Glenholme Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations. We have revised site plans, floor plans, and elevations, a covering letter from the agent. We have 7 form letters in support, signed by 178 and 187 Glenholme, as well as 182, which is adjacent, and 171, 176, 192, and 194, and 178 is, so both adjacent neighbors are in support. Do I have, and I have no speakers, do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, my name is Jonathan Hatch, representing 180 Glenholme Avenue.
Okay. Panel members, do you need a presentation on this one? Do you have any questions for the agent? And we're looking at the revised plans to approve. No questions? No? Okay, Mr. Hatch, we have read all the material. We're ready to take it into committee. Is there anything you want to add before we do so?
No, if committee's willing, if they would like a presentation, be more than willing to give one.
No, we're good. Oh, Mr. Niffel has a question, so.
Of course.
I'm sorry, I may have missed this in the drawings. I had a note to ask this, and I had it on the wrong application. The floor plans indicate that there is an entrance, a basement entrance, a front basement entrance, or is it, and it doesn't appear on the porch. Is that, oh, my mistake. It's a rear entrance to the basement. Is that correct?
Yes, there's a rear entrance.
Yeah, okay, that's my mistake, sorry. Okay, but withdraw the question. Thanks.
All right, any other questions? So yeah, we're ready to go into committee, Mr. Hatch, unless there's something you need to add.
Not this time.
Okay, all right, we're in committee, members. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. I think this is an entirely reasonable application. You know, many of the variances being requested are existing conditions with respect to the footprint of the entire structure, and front porch enclosures are not, are actually quite in vogue these days, and are not out of character. And I would, if my colleagues have no further comments, I would move a motion to approve the application, no conditions.
Okay, and that's seconded by Mr. Niffel. So motion to approve, moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Niffel. All in favor? Your application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 20, 92 Holland Park Avenue. We have before us a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, 2 photographs of the subject property. We have a form letter in support from 94, which is adjacent. Do I have the agent on the line? Or the owner?
Yes, I'm the owner, Phil Schneider. The agent should be on the line, Daniel Allen.
No, I don't even show him registered. Daniel Allen, you say?
Yeah, he's on there. He's listed there as he's on the phone as the attendee. I think there was I see him there.
Okay, well, I'm just saying I don't have him on my list, but that's fine if we can find him. Yeah, just give us a second. Is that who's speaking then on your behalf?
Hi, Daniel.
Hello?
Hi, Daniel.
Daniel? Please leave your message after the tone.
Oh.
Okay, just bear with us, folks.
I don't have their phone number. Should I just go back to the owner?
Hang on. Yeah, can you just ask Mr. Schneider?
I'm the homeowner. I can do my best to answer while you guys try to connect with him.
Okay, we don't have a phone number. Okay, can you mute him and get the phone number? Or so the whole, that everybody can't hear you asking for it.
Hi, Daniel. I see you online. Do you hear us? might have to unmute yourself on your end. We can't hear you, but I do see you muting and unmuting yourself. I'll try giving you a call if I can find your phone number. Give me one moment.
Are you able to ask the homeowner without him being heard on everywhere?
I can only email him. I can check.
Okay, can you unmute him, and I'm gonna tell him you're gonna email the homeowner and to go to his email like right away?
Okay.
Hi, Philip, are you there?
Yes, I'm.
So, our staff, because we don't want everybody to hear your agent's, like, the phone number, so she's gonna email, do you have access to your email right now?
I do.
Okay, she's emailing you. If you can send her back the phone number right away, she can try to call Daniel.
I can call him and put him on speaker if that would work as well.
I'm not sure if that might give us like a tin background sound, so I think it's better if we can connect, because she can see him, but we can't hear him.
No problem, I'll give you his number right away.
Excellent.
I can try to answer any questions in the meantime.
Yeah, in the meantime, panel members, do you have any questions for the homeowner? Because I have no opposition listed. Are you gonna have any questions for the agent either, or, because?
I just have one question with respect to the size of the platform on the second story. Is there any other examples? Is that characteristic of what second story terraces or platforms of that size?
Yeah, there are
3 times what the bylaw allows?
Yep. So there are about 3 constructed ones. In the same strip, there are about 8 similar homes that are the same, and they vary somewhat in width, but they're about that. They're all consistently about that size in width and depth. So it's fairly it's almost identical with some minor variation for the other ones. I believe one just was approved, but not yet constructed.
Thank you.
Are there any, Mr. Baya?
Just as with regard to the balcony again, is there any intention or proposal to provide privacy screening?
My adjacent neighbor has vines that provide privacy and has not raised any concerns. They, I should say, provided the letter of support supporting the application. There is an alleyway on the other side, and there is no, I think, privacy encroachment beyond what is already visible in the Juliet balcony that exists at the current time. If requested, we'd be happy to put up a privacy wall, but there's no current intention to do so.
Okay.
Thank you.
We do have the agent on the line now. But I'm not sure.
Yes, hi.
Hi, Mr. Allen?
Yes, I'm here now.
Okay, I'm not sure there are any more questions, to be honest, but let me just ask panel members, any more questions? So I don't know if you heard about potential privacy screening. I don't know if that's a condition members want to put on, but it sounds like the homeowner would be amenable to that.
Yeah, that's I don't know if it's it would be like a requirement or if that's a discussion between the 2 neighbors. I think he has already a letter from the neighbors agreement to put up the deck adjacent to his own.
Okay. Any other questions, panel members? All right, we have no further questions, so we're ready to take it into committee. Is there anything you feel you need to add? That we've read all the materials, we've seen all the pictures, so we're ready to make a decision on this.
Just want to thank you for your consideration.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, panel members, we're in committee. Ms. Hayes.
Thank you. Having reviewed the submissions and having received the submissions from the applicant about the precedent of this size of platform, if my colleagues don't have any further comment, I would move a motion to approve the application. But further to my colleagues' comment, I would like to have privacy screening on the east side of the balcony as a condition.
Okay, to 1.5 meter?
Yes.
Okay. I'm sorry, you said on the east side? Yeah.
Yes, the other is on a laneway, and I don't think it's necessary, but the east side.
Okay. So I have a motion to approve the application with a condition that 1.5 meter privacy screening be put on the east side of the deck. Moved by Ms. Hayes, seconded by Mr. Bayat. All in favor?
So it should be the platform, not the deck.
The platform. Okay.
And
Can I clarify?
the west.
It's the west side.
It's
The
the
east
west
side,
side?
I think, faces the laneway. I think you mean the west side, don't you? If you look at the survey or the location
Joanne,
map.
I can't hear you. Are you muted?
Yes, I didn't read my my east and west properly. It's the west side. You're correct. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks very much.
Okay, so a condition for 1.5 meter privacy screening on the west side of the platform, moved by Ms. Hayes. And did you want a second, Mr. Bayat?
Yes, I did, Madam
Okay.
Chair.
All in favor? Okay, so the application's been approved with that condition. Okay, thank you. Item number 21. We have before, it's 1 and 3 Bryce Avenue. We have a copy of the plan of survey, site plan, floor plans, and elevations, covering letter from Mr. Sprague, the agent. We have an urban forestry package submitted by the agent. Forestry's asking for condition number 2. We have 6 form letters in support signed by number 2, number 5, which is adjacent, number 7 to 9 and 8 Bryce Avenue, as well as 31 Oriole Gardens and 58 Heath Street. I don't show any opposition speakers, and we have 1 variance before us. Do I have the agent on the line?
Yes, it's Tom Sprague speaking from Sprague and Company Architects.
Okay, I don't think we need a
Can you
present.
hear me all right there?
Yeah, you can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, just very briefly, I think quite straightforward, but the owners purchased their home at the end of last year, and they'd like to renovate it and add a couple of additions on. The only variance before you has to do with the front yard setback, and what they'd like to do there presently, there's an existing 1-story little addition, but it's only about 6 feet wide, so they'd like to push it out another 4.5 feet to make it a functional room. Both neighbors, as you mentioned, were directly across the street, number 2, number 5, are supportive of what's being proposed. So I feel the variance myself is minor in my opinion, certainly an asset to the property, and importantly, I think the neighbors are supportive as well.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Sprague. Panel members, do you have any questions for the agent? Okay, so we're ready to take it into committee then. Any discussion, comments? Mr. Nipfel.
Madam Chairman, unless my colleagues have any other concerns, I agree with the applicant. It is a minor application, and it is an asset to the property and to the community. I think it clearly meets the 4 tests and is worthy of support. I'd like to move approval subject to forestry condition number 2.
Okay, Mr. Reed seconds, so motion to approve, including forestry number 2, moved by Mr. Nipfel, seconded by Mr. Reed. All in favor? Your application's been unanimously approved. Thank you. Item number 20, we have to switch okay, we need a few minutes to switch the YouTube feed.
Yeah, for those who are watching, we're going to be ending our YouTube feed, and you'll be able to search for the 2nd AM YouTube feed in a few minutes. So again, for those who are watching on YouTube, the feed's going to end. You can search for the additional AM feed in a couple minutes.